Welcome back. This is A Level Computer Science 9618 paper 2 and this is part 5, and in this video we are going to go through with stepwise refinement. We will go through procedure and function, passing parameters, and we understand about four types of two types of procedure and two types of functions. So overall four types of subroutines: parameters, by value, by reference, global variables, local variables, built-in functions, and we will go through filings. So let's begin with stepwise refinement. Okay, so stepwise refinement is express an algorithm to a level of detail from which the task may be programmed. For example, if you're having a semester project, for example, having a semester project of budget planner. Okay, and now you want it to, okay, this is a budget planner and the main goal is to manage the budget, seeing all the expenses, all the savings, and seeing all the visualization, visualize charts, histograms, and try to manage your budget in a most possible, in a most efficient way. And you are also going to see the on a monthly basis that how much expenses there were and uh, how much saving that you have done, and then you just try to compare it. So this is the program that I would like to meet, right? Assuming that this is my semester project and I'm working very hard for it. Okay, now this is the main thing. This is a budget planner. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to break it down into more, so into sub problem. First of all, I need to make sure that I have a sign up page having a database. Okay, which means that I'm saving my values, my data in here. Sign up, this is the sign up page. Okay, then this is where you add expenses. Then you have another one, add savings. And then you have charts, visualize charts. And if you can just further break it down more and more, it doesn't matter. So the bottom line is that you're breaking down into sub problem, and only then you can make sub after breaking down, then only then it would be much easier for you to write down code to make it to solve those sub problems. Okay, like for example, I'm making the code of this, then a code of this, code of this, and then I'm going to integrate all of this to make my semester project complete. Okay, so express an algorithm to a level of detail from which the task may be programmed. So breaking down, so if you have been asked about to make a stepwise refinement, you will try to write down instruction in English. You will have like for example three subroutines, and then you can, if you want, you can just break it down more. You just break it down again. You can break it down as much as you can. Like for example, this is the main. You got 1, you got 2, got 3, and you can break it down more. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Same thing here. 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. You can further break it down more, like 1.1.1, 1.1.2, like that. Okay, so there are three parts, see, three subroutines you can call it, and I'm breaking down more. Enter time taken to run math in hours, minutes, on seconds. You can again, in breaking down, enter the hours and enter the minute, enter the seconds. Calculate and store math time in second. You're going to convert from hours to minutes, and then add minutes and convert to seconds. Okay, then you have output marathon time in seconds. So output time in seconds asks you whether to exit the program, yes or no. Okay, so this is how you do it. This is stepwise refinement. So always remember, if you have been asked to write down the stepwise refinement in the paper, you will try to write down in structured English, and you just break it down and break it down in more if you like. Depends on the question. Okay, how much complexity there is in the question. Now we're coming to subroutines. These are subroutines. This is the main. Okay, let me show you. This is the main subroutine where where the where okay, the main subroutine where the code is run. Code is being run in the main, always in the main. Like I just showed you in the VB, that there's a sub main and sub. That's a main subroutine. It's the only subroutine that will help you to run the code. So code is being run in here. Okay, so this is the main subroutine, and you can make other subroutines. For example, you are making a calculator. Okay, you are making a calculator program. So you have this huge box. This is a main. Okay, and which means you have a main subroutine, and inside a main subroutine you are okay. Let me just go slowly. This is a calculator. This is a subroutine, main subroutine. You can just call it main subroutine. Okay, main, the most important subroutine, the primary subroutine, you can call it. Okay, primary. Or yeah. Now I want to make a subroutine for addition, a subroutine for subtraction, a subroutine for division, a subroutine for subtraction. Alright, multiplication. And there are so many countless features, but I'm just showing only 4: the addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. I'm going to write down the code for addition, write down the code for subtraction, okay, write down the code for division, and then write down the code for multiplication. Okay, so I'm making code, and I'm making, these are subroutines, and then I just name it as addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. So this would be the main submain where the code is run, and then I'm going to call all of them. Call addition, call subtraction, call division, call multiplication, and so forth. Okay, so if I want to make subroutine, okay, subroutine is making. For example, if I'm let's say I'm making the code for addition. I'm going to say declare, I'm writing down in pseudocode, declare num as integer. Then I'm going to give a prompt, or let's say output, enter your number. And I'm going to give input num. Okay, I've write down the code. I'm going to put this in a subroutine box. What I'm going to say that it's a procedure. Okay, I'm not passing any parameters for now. Yeah, this is a procedure and procedure. Oh wait, I haven't given a name yet. Procedure add. Okay, procedure add and procedure. So what I'm doing here, I have made some code, and I have put this in a subroutine box. The two types of subroutine, procedure and functions. Okay, there are two types of subroutine, procedures and function. A procedure that doesn't return a value, doesn't wait doesn't return a value. A function is something that returns any value, returns anything, returns anything, any value. But that's the only difference. It's the only difference between a procedure and a function. There are two different. One difference is the name, that this is a procedure, this is a function. Another difference is that it doesn't return a value, and it returns anything, any value, integer, string, boolean, char, arrays. Yeah, more like anything. Okay. But eventually these are two of them are subroutine, and the duty of the subroutine is to put the bunch of code inside a box, and then you just name it, giving a name, and then you decide whether it is a procedure or function, whether this line of code will return a value or not. So we will decide after that is it function or procedure. Is it function? If we say yes, then return something. But if it is a procedure, is it procedure? Yes, don't return anything. Don't return anything. Okay, so that's the difference between a procedure and a function. A procedure and a function, the duty of a subroutine is to put the bunch of code into a box and you just name it, and then you decide whether it will return anything, whether it will return a value or not. Okay, so procedure doesn't return a value, function returns a value. So that's the difference. You are making subroutines, and then with the help of subroutines you are making the code more readable, more organized. You can understand that which function is called, which function is being called. This will help in debugging. Definitely it will going to help in debugging. It will help you to understand the code more easily. It will help you in debugging. It will help you in managing, in ordering. Okay, it will help to understand much better, helping in mind mapping. Yeah, that's how it is. And this figure, this the main, and then we have subroutines. You can just call it methods as subroutines, and you can just call it by call addition, call subroutine, call division, call that, call this. And if you want, you can just put a loop in here or make conditional statement for I is equals to 1 to 10, call addition. if if um, if choice is equal to plus, then add call addition, else if choice is equal to minus, then call subtraction. You can do so many things like that. Okay, so that's the concept of stepwise refinement. You are breaking down in, you're writing down in structure English and breaking down, and procedure subroutines. We have gone through this. Now another thing that we need to understand here is parameters. Okay, let me just make a new copy. Okay, okay. So we have understood about that procedure is something that doesn't return a value. A function is something that doesn't return that returns a value. Okay. Okay. Now we need to understand about parameters. Whenever you try to write down a procedure, what will you do? For now, I'm going to write down in pseudocode. First of all, you're going to tell that is it a procedure or a function. If it is a procedure, then write down procedure. Okay, now you need to give the name, like what is the name of this procedure? Is it addition, subtraction, my dog, hello cat, walk, bark like a dog, or meow like a cat, giving any name. Then after that you have parameters. What variables you want to pass inside this box, inside this box of code, what parameters would you like to pass? So here will come parameters name, and here will come the data type of this parameter, the data type. Okay, you can pass, you can make as any, you can make as many parameters as you like, doesn't matter. Okay, you can make as many parameters as you like. You're telling that this is a procedure, the name of procedure is my procedure or something like that, or procedure 1, procedure 2. You can make as many parameters as you like. Sending, and parameters are those variables that you are putting inside, that are being used inside the code. Okay, we'll give the example later. So procedure name, parameters, and procedure. This would be an procedure. Okay, and inside this box you can write as many code as you like. Inside this box, many code as you can write. Okay, yeah. Okay, you eat. Okay, so you can either you can have parameters or you can have no parameters. It's up to you. You can write it down as something like this, in this way as well, like you're not sending any parameters, you're not accepting any parameters. Could be also that, like that as well. Not sending any parameter, no parameters. It depends on you. Okay, so similarly, as for a function, if you want to make a function, you will tell that, yeah, this is a function, the name of a function, the name, and after giving a name, the parameters, how many parameters you are sending. Per 1, the parent, the name of a parameter, parameter's name, and the data type of that parameter. You can send as many parameters as you like. I am telling you again. Okay, now this would be an function. Okay, inside one box you're writing down as many code as you like, writing down as many code as you can. Now the function is returning a value. So what is it returning? So you will write down the keyword return any variable. For example, return var1. You are returning any variable. Return any variable. Returning any variable which is storing a value. So you are returning something. And what is the data type? So okay, if you are returning something, what should be the data type of that variable that you are returning? So you write it down as integer, or as boolean, or as char, or as decimal, as integer, as boolean, as string, as array, as file. You got it, right? You are telling that what is the data type that you are, what is the data type of the variable that you are returning. You are returning. Okay, what is the data type of the variable that you are returning? Which means you are telling about this, that what is the data type of this, what are you returning? You return. Okay, so there are two important things. This, the keyword return this, return var1 or my digit or my num or this name or flag or this or that, returning a variable. Okay, but what is the data type of this variable that you are returning? As integer, as boolean, as string. And so, my friend, my dear beloved friends, this is a function. This is a complete function. You have given a name, you are given that this is a function, this is the name, the number of parameters. You can set it as many as you can, or you don't want to send it, doesn't matter. Okay, now you're returning a variable, a values or something, and what is the data type that you're returning? That's how you do it. So this is the difference between a procedure and a function. Okay. And another difference is that you can return something, or you don't want to return, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to return it, it's up to you, it's up to the program, or uh, the question, or it's up to how what are the different, that how you are doing it. I mean, that the code, the solving the problem, solving the, every person is different. They have a different mindset, different mentality, different thinking power to solve this particular problem. For example, this is the problem, I'm the problem. One person is thinking in this way, the other is thinking in that way, the other is thinking in this way. We have different mind mentality of solving the problem. So it depends on the question, or it depends on your mentality, that you want to pass the parameters or not. Or maybe it could be possible that you need to send something in order to return something. Like you have a machine, right? You have a machine, you're putting a coin, and you're getting a candy bar, or getting something. It's very simple. Function is more like you have understood in math, P1, right? That you are giving something and you're returning, you are giving something and you are getting something, right? In a machine or something. Same scenario is a function, except for one thing, that you are not returning, you are not giving something and you are getting something. Okay, so that's a different thing. This is the example of this, that you are giving something, giving parameters, and you are returning something. I mean, you are getting something, sorry. You are giving something, you are giving parameters, you are giving variables, and you are getting something. Okay, you are getting a value, return this, you're returning to the main. So that's the difference between a parameters and a function. Okay, we'll go through this later. Pass by a value reference. So there are 4 ways. Okay, no return, no parameters, definitely this is a procedure. No return but take parameters, also a procedure. Return something but no parameters. Okay, return something but no parameters, this is a function. Return something and as well take parameters, also a function. So there are 4 types of subroutines, you can call it subroutines. Subroutines. Okay, this is pseudocode. This is a procedure and procedure. The name, this is the name. Okay, this is the name, these are parameters, the data type of this parameters, the parameter, the data type of this parameters. We will discuss this later. Then you are writing down code, declare count integer for count is 1 to 10, output symbol, and for this loop, and this whole thing is complete. This whole thing is a procedure subroutine that you have made, and you can call it as many times as you like in a main function, or you can just say in a main subroutine. Okay, main subroutine is a totally different thing. It is built in. It's not something that you are making it. Okay, it's a main that runs the code. Okay, it always runs the code. You just, if you done, I have just showed you in VB, right? There's a main, sub main, sub main and sub. Okay, and you am writing down like console dot write line hello world, and I just run it and it will run like that. Okay, so these are subroutine, and you just in order to make it part of your code or program, I mean, you just call it in a main, and then only then it will run. It will only run in the main subroutine and sub. Okay, all right, so this is a procedure. This is a procedure that returns. This is a procedure. This is a name of procedure. The temperature. This is a date. This is a variable name, a parameter name, and this is a data type of this. And procedure and procedure and procedure. You can add as many parameters as you like. Return function and function. The name of function, parameter as many parameters you like. Returns data types. Okay, returns, yeah. Returns data type. Okay, so I've just write down as integer. Instead you can write down as, okay, you know what, let me just, okay, my bad. Actually, whenever you try to write down a function, we don't write as integer when you're telling that what kind of a data type that the variable you're having. We write down return here and return here. Now that's complete. Return, instead of as, it will be return. Okay, you are returning a value of a variable. Okay, and that variable contains a value, and what is the data type of this variable? You will say return integer, return boolean, return array. So this is pseudocode. If we write down as, this is the syntax of Visual Basic, so I have just mixed things up. Just it's not much of a difference. You just need to remove as and write down return. Okay, so return integer, return boolean, return string. What is the return of the data type? The data type of this variable that you are returning, that you are giving. Okay, so in here as well, returns data type, good, and return something, return a variable. Same thing in here, returns, like for example in here, returns real, and return this whole the value. This will be a, okay, you can return a value or you can return a variable. It's the same thing. Return 0 or return variable. Return 0, 59, 7, anything. You can return a value as well, and you can return a variable. And what kind of a data type that you're returning, you just write down here, returns real. Okay, so this is a procedure and a function, and I just told you about parameters. Let me just see the definition. Okay, okay, let me show you an example. For example, I want to make a procedure, a question, write down the procedure and a function of addition, subtraction. For now these two. So let me write down. So I'm going to say procedure add. I'm going to get the parameters as num1. The data type would be integer. Num2. The data type would be integer again. These are the parameters, and now I'm going to make another parameter dim. Oh, sorry, not dim. Declare add as integer. Okay, declare add as integer. Yeah, and now I'm going to say add is equal to num1 plus num2, and then I'm just going to say AND procedure. So these were the num1, num2, and I have make another variable I have added, and there you go, I have AND this procedure. This is a subroutine of addition. Okay, now, oh wait, I have just, and I'm going to write down output add, and then it will give an output of addition. Similarly, I can do the same thing as for function as well. Let me just copy paste it since it's the same thing completely. So I'm write down as function here as well, and since it's a function, it's going to return something, so I'm going to write down return add, and returning what kind of a data type? Returns integer. There you go. That's the difference between a function and a procedure. Okay, so this is how you're doing. I'm returning something inside a main subroutine. To the same, you're returning a value to the main subroutine. Okay. So if I'm returning something, then it will look something like this. For example, I'm having a main. This is a main and main. Okay, so I have just called, okay, let me just make another, let's say name declare my add as integer. Okay, and I'm just say my add is equal to function add. Okay, so I'm calling the function, so it would look like this add. Okay, I need to write down like output enter your num1. Okay, so I need to enter num1, so I'm going to make another variable which is declare n1 as integer, and now I'm going to make another one as well since I'm giving input of two numbers. So declare num2 as integer. So I have made two variables, and then I'm just going to say enter num1 and num2 and num2 for addition. Okay, and then I'm going to write down input n1 n2, and then these variable will come here n1 n2. Okay, so what's happening here, I have put these variables in here, and what happens, okay, so this is how I call the function. I have called the add function, and it is returning a value. Okay, so it's returning a value, then it will save in this variable the value returned and saved in here, okay. And after this I'm just going to output, I'm just going to this output my ad. Okay, so this is how it's happening. So output my ad, and there you go, I've completed my work. This is the main subroutine. This is how I'm write down the code, and then I've just called the function add, the function which I have made. This will come down as I am writing the code. So writing the code, I am writing here. There you go. So this is a function. This is separated from the mean. In order to connect this to the mean, I need to call its name. Add num1 num2. I am going to add it. It will be stored in here, num1 num2, and then I am going to do manipulation. I am going to add these into another variable, and I am going to return this variable. The value will be saved in here, and then output my add. Okay, this is how I am doing it. So similarly, as for a procedure, if I am doing this for a procedure, same thing. What I am going to do here is, let me just copy it. Let's suppose I am calling the procedure. So the procedure doesn't return anything, which means I'm going to remove this, and there's no need to have this as well. It's not returning anything though. I have called the add procedure. The add procedure. Okay, this is a procedure. This is how I'm writing. It will look like, yeah. Written here. I have passed these variables. And that's it. After I run this, what will happen? This will run. So as soon as I run this, it will come here, then this will run, and it will accept two parameters, num1 num2. It will add them up, and then it will output in here. So I've given I've given the output in here. It will display on the screen, but in here I've just returned the value. It will be stored here, and I have displayed in here in the main. So both will work. So this is the difference between a function and a procedure. Okay, this is how you pass parameters, and if you like, you don't need to pass any parameter if you want to. If you want to, you don't need to pass any parameter if you want to. Okay, you can just simply write down the code and just do it. For example, if I wanted to, I could just write down like this. Passing no parameters, and then I'm just going to write down extra code like declare num1 as integer, declare num2 as integer. Then I'm going to say input num1 num2 and then it will be saved in here and then return this. I could do this as well, in this way as well. So it depends how you're approaching it. Okay, so it's these are the 4 ways. So we'll show you in when I'm going to I will show you in a practical when I'm doing VB. I will show you how to do this. So for now I just want you guys to understand the concept that what is the difference between a positive and function, and there are 4 types of subroutines that we can use, that we can do. Okay, so I hope you guys have understood about this. This is how we try to write down positive function, and these are subroutine that helps to make the whole program, like having a the big problem is break it down into smaller problem, and then you just try to deal with individually. It will also, it is very helpful for debugging as well. For example, the other 3 subroutines are working, but there is an error in this subroutine, so you'll try to separate this and you try to run it, test it, what is the problem with here. This is how you try to do it, right? This is how you try to write down subroutines. Okay, so let's move on. Now I want you guys to understand about by value and by reference. The parameter that we are passing has 2 types. You are okay, first thing that the name of a parameter, the data type of the parameter, but also this another thing that it is passing by value or by reference. You know, this is the name of a variable num1, the data type is integer, but by value or by reference. What does it mean by that? It means that, for example, let me show you the picture of what I have just done. Let me show you the picture. There you go. If a parameter is passed by value, if a parameter is passed by value at call time, the argument can be an actual. Okay, there are two words. The first thing is what the parameter. The second word is the argument. Argument are those variables that you are passing in the main subroutine. You are passing in here. So these are the arguments. These are arguments. These are the arguments, and these are parameters. Sorry. These are the parameters. So there's a difference. These are arguments and these are parameters. Okay. Okay. If a parameter is passed by value at call time, the argument can be an act. If a parameter is passed by value, at call time, okay, passed by value at call time, the argument can be an actual value. For example, when you are calling the add, let's say add function, my add, and you are calling this, it could be a value, can be a value though. It can be a value or it can be a variable. Okay, so you can send values as an argument. If an argument is a variable, then a copy of the current value of the variable is passed into the subroutine. Okay, either you can pass values or you can pass variables. N1 and 2. Okay, if the argument is a variable, then a copy of the current value of the variable is passed into the subroutine. This is subroutine pass. The value of the variable in the calling program is not affected by what happens in the subroutine. Okay, now supposing the value of n1 is 35 and the value of n2 is 78. Okay, so these are the values of these variables, and supposing that you are sending the variables, right? Let me just remove this for now. You are sending variables, you are sending an argument as variables, right? So if I am sending okay, so this is main subroutine, and this is my function. Here this is the main, and then I have made this sorry, this is a sub, this is a procedure. Actually this is a procedure. Okay, and I have declared this, I have initialized it, and now I'm calling the procedure which is change value. This is the name, change value, lol. Okay, a b c d is being passed as arguments. These are the arguments. Okay, so if I try to write down like by value, by value, by value, by value, I have these variables name as, these are data type, variable name, data type, variable names, data type, variables name, data type. By value means that you are only taking the value of these arguments. Only the value of these arguments are passed. Only the values of these arguments are passed. Okay, so you are only sending the values of these arguments. 50 plus, okay, and if you try to give a output like a b c d, it will give 1 2 3 4. The thing is that it's not affecting their values if you are only if you just say by value, by value, so then only their values are being passed, but not their address of these variables. Okay, so address is another different thing. We will come to that later. But for now, remember this, that whenever we say by value, by value, by value, which means that you are only sending the values of these variables. Only the values of the arguments are passed. Okay, so this is by value. You're sending a parameter is passed by a value. At call time, the argument can be an actual value. If the argument is variable, then a copy of the current value of the variable is passed into the subroutine. The current value of the variable is passed into the subroutine. The value of the variable in the calling program is not affected by what happens in the subroutine, which means it is independent. It's not the values of these will not be changed if you pass them as arguments. But by reference is another different scenario. Parameter by reference. A parameter can be passed by reference. At call time, the argument must be a variable. It must be a variable. A pointer to the memory allocation of that variable is passed into the subroutine. Now let me give you another story. What is happening here? Whenever we try to declare something, we are declaring this. Okay, declaring this, so they have been allocated some memory, and they have their own addresses in that memory. They have each variable has its own address. Each variable has its own address in memory. So whenever we try to pass them as a variable, the argument must be a variable. The pointer to the memory allocation of that variable is passed into the procedure or function. It means that their addresses are being passed instead of their values. You are passing them a b c d. Since it says by reference, it says by reference, by okay, it says by reference, by reference, by reference, by reference. It means that their addresses are their address has been passed. The memory allocation of these variables are passed, and their values might change. The address has been passed. Okay, their address, the memory allocation of these variables are passed. So the address of this variable has been passed to w. This variable has been passed to x. Okay, address of this is passed to y. Address of this is passed to t. Okay, now what is happening after passing them? If you try to change either one of them, for example, w is equal to 50 plus w, I have changed this value, I have changed this, I have changed, I mean, before it was something, it was 1, but now it would be 51. If before the value of x was 2, but now it would be 62, 73, it would be 90, d, where the value of d was 4, so 89, 4 plus 89 is 93, it would be 93. Now I have called this, it is done. And now if I try to give an output, if I try to output of these variables, the value of these variable will change because I have given the address of these variable. It is passed in here, and whatever okay, whenever we try to write down by reference, then if you try to pass these variable, the address will be sent, it will come here, and whatever you do with these variable, the values of these will be changed because you have sent their address. Okay, same thing as you have, like, okay, so their address has been passed, which means that, so that's the difference between by reference and by value. In by value, only their values are being passed, the value are stored in here, you can do whatever you want, but it will not change this. But by reference, their address has been passed, the address of these each and every variables has been passed, and whatever you do in here, it will change this, these variables, the value will be affected. So that's the difference between by reference and by value. Okay, a parameter can be passed by reference. At call time, the argument must be a variable. A pointer to the memory allocation of that variable is passed into the procedure. A pointer, the concept of a pointer is your, at memory allocation you have a pointer, which means having pointing to this memory. For example, you have a variable a and its address is 100. This address has been pointed, and whatever you do with this variable, for example, a is equals to 5, so its address, according to that address, the value of 5 would be stored in here, is equals to 5, like that. Okay, so pointer is connected to memory allocation, but we don't want to go further. A pointer to the memory allocation of that variable is passed into the procedure. Any changes that are applied to the variable's content will be affected outside the procedure in the calling program module. Any changes that are applied to the variable's content will be affected outside the procedure in the calling programming module. Yeah, like, we are doing in here, whatever you're doing here will be affected these, because we are sending the address. Okay. So that's the difference between by value, by reference. And if you see this properly, I have passed by value, the output will be 1 2 3 4. The local copy of the data is used, leaving the variable in the main program unaffected. The output will be 51 62 73 93. The address of the main memory allocation of the data to be used is passed, so value change in procedure also is reflected in main program. Okay, so that's the difference between by parameter, by value, or by reference. Now let's come to global variables and local variables. For example, you have this code, this is VB actually, this is VB here, this is a procedure, this is another procedure, this is another procedure. Okay, so these are 3 procedures. These are global variables because it is outside the procedures, and it is outside the main, which means these global variables, it is global. Every procedure for subroutines, even main subroutine, can use these variables. Okay, So a global variable are variables that is declared outside the subroutines of a computer program, accessible by all the subroutines in the program, remains in existence for the entire time the program is executing, accessible by multiple subroutines, therefore its value can be changed. The thing is that its value can be changed. Same thing for like uh, you know the same way that we have done in here, that by reference if we pass these, whatever we do their value will change. The same thing in here is that if we make global variables, whatever we try to do in subroutines, their values will be changed. Their values will be changed, can be changed. I can just write down can be changed. Their values can be changed. Okay, since they are outside. But in a local variables, okay, what are local variables? Let's say, okay, now you can see here answer is global variable. It has been used here. Num1 is used here, num2 is used here. Global variables, obviously, num1 num2 is used here, num1 num2. Answer, each subroutine has an access of these variables because it is global. Like for example, a public internet, everyone can use it. There are some which are private internets, okay, private LAN or yeah, so private IP address or public IP address, right, that we have learned. Public IP address that anyone, it is public, but private IP address, which means it is private. Same thing here, global variables which is accessed by all of these subroutines. Okay, now we have this. Now dim answer as char. Okay, this is a local variable because it is declared inside our subroutine. Local variable because it is declared inside a subroutine. Okay, so if you have declared in here, then these subroutine can access this because it is local variable, right? Now I have put a loop in here. I have put a loop in here. Input, okay, it's I have called these procedures. I have called all of them. Then console.writeLine, another go, yes or no. Answer console.readLine. Loop until u case answer is equal to no. Okay, I have put a loop. So yeah, this is how it is. It's just an example, but local variable is something that is used only inside that subroutine, which is where it has been declared. Okay, so a variable that is declared inside a subroutine of a computer program, accessible only within the subroutine it is defined, obviously. Created when the subroutine start executing and is destroyed when the execution is complete. Okay, more reliable and secure. Okay, it is more reliable and secure since the value cannot be changed by other subroutine. Very important, very important concept. You need to remember these two. The first thing is accessible only when it is when in the subroutine it is defined. Only in that subroutine it is defined, it is accessible only, and no other subroutine can access that subroutine which has been defined. Using only global variable is a poor programming practice, yeah, at some point, but I think it find me most useful, which I'm doing programming in Java, and most of the time sometimes I try to use global variables. Depends on the question, but it's good if you try to use local variables because using only global variable is a poor programming practice because it would be difficult to find where variable values was changed. Well, if you have a good IDE, then I think it wouldn't be a problem, but still. But good programming practice use local variables. Yeah, that's the difference. Okay, we have understood about procedure, function, stepwise refinements, by value, by reference, global, local. Now built-in functions. Okay, what are built-in functions? A built-in function, built in, which means they are being made for us for our sake. that who knows that when we will be, it could there could be a time that we need these functions, and instead of writing it for ourselves, they are being made for us, which means we can use them anytime, anywhere. Okay, so you will get built-in library if you have built-in libraries, programs, built-in libraries. Whenever like Java IDE or VB libraries, built-in function, which mean having so many functions built-in, tested, so many functions built in for us, tested by programmers, built in by programmers for us to use it anytime, built in, tested, and they're very useful. It helped to save so much. It helped to help us to save lots of time. Definitely save lots of time. Why bother making up a function when it has been made for ourselves? So these are the built-in function that you will use it in pseudocode when you will do paper 2. So met is a first function. Met means that you have passed an argument of this a value a b c d e f g, and you are starting from this position, like you're starting from here. Wait. Okay, you're starting from this is position 2, this is position 1. Start from this, and then it's asking how much you want to get, how much length you wanted. So 3. So starting from here, 1 2 3, then you got these 3 letters. It returns it. Length, which means it tells the number of that how many length of this string is, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So there are 10. It returns a value. It returns an integer. It returns a string. Left, which means seeing on the left, and then 3, taking out of these 3. You can just say 4 5 6. So seeing on the left and then taking out these, starting from the left side. 1 2 3 returns string. Right, starting from the right, starting from here. Okay, 1 2 3 4, starting from here. Okay, returns EFGH. Then int, convert decimal into integer, returns integer. And then we have string to num, converting the string into a num value, integers, string to integer. Then we have ASCII W, it returns the ASCII value of characters, returns integer. You can convert values into ASCII character. Okay, like 87, the ASCII value of 87 is W. So these are built-in function that we might be able to use it in P2 when obviously we'll use it, because the question are way tough though, way tough. So I think that's enough for today. We will see this later. That's enough for this. So we have discussed about what are stepwise refinement. We have discussed about procedure and function, that they are subroutine and what is the difference between them. We have discussed about the parameters by value or by reference. Okay, then we have discussed about that. We have discussed about the global and local variables, and we have also discussed about built-in functions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you